Okay, at first when I heard this, I was really intimidated. But the cool thing about actually making a block, which is found here in More Blocks, is that you can code for long, long, long sequences of blocks just by making one block that accounts for all of those different blocks put together. And the nice thing about making a block is that you can also go ahead and repeat it and use it multiple times. So instead of having to keep putting out more and more blocks, all you have to do is select the block that you just made yourself. So let me show you an example with this program that I just made. Now, what I've done is I've wanted to create this mechanism that makes it look like my frog is hopping or jumping. And as soon as he's finished, he says, "Gotta catch the flies," because he is by a pond. Now, all of this right here, let's say that I brought in other frogs into this, but I didn't want to have to keep making the same sequences over and over and over again. You can make a block where you can actually have one block that represents that concept of, well, jumping. In order to make a block, you go ahead and click on the button, and that brings you to this new block category, where you go ahead and have a block that you can name anything that you want. There is an options function here, and I'll come back to that and show you what that is in a second. But for now, let's call this hopping, because that's essentially what this block is going to code for my sprite to actually go ahead and do. Click OK. And you'll notice that there's sort of something similar to what an events block might look like. It's a block that has sort of a slim top and then a little tab here on the bottom, symbolizing that you can attach it to other blocks. So for the sake of hopping, out of all the blocks here, really hopping comes down to when you repeat 10 times the changing Y and then the waiting in between, because that's what causes the frog to actually look like it's going up and down at a relatively fast pace. So if I were to take this and I were to put it over here, now what I could do is, you see over here this hopping block? If I drag that in between, I wait 1 second and my say blocks here, it will account for this exact configuration of blocks under define hopping. So let me show you what happens. When you click the green flag, it causes the exact same thing to happen because your sprite is following this definition of the block hopping. Okay, now you've seen how to actually make a block by defining what the definition is, but there was something that we sort of missed that I told you I would explain to you later. And that's this option right here, where you can click options and you have a number of things that you can choose from. So the cool thing about this is that when you define any block that you're going to be making, you can actually add different areas for inputs. And then when you take the block and put it in as part of your collection of blocks that code for different actions, whatever input you put in, that will then streamline that input throughout all of the particular commands that define that block code for. So that's a little bit confusing in speech, so I'm going to show you in action what this actually looks like. So over here, you'll notice that for hopping, I just said change Y by 40 and change Y by negative 40. But maybe I don't always want my frog to jump that high. Maybe I want it to do sort of smaller, tinier jumps. So we're going to go ahead and do hopping, but we're also going to add a number input, and I'm going to call this height, because that's how high I actually want my frog to go ahead and jump. So when we create that, now we have the define hopping height block that's going to be defined according to whatever it is that we want. Now, because we've inputted a number input as part of the block's definition, we're going to have an area in the particular collection of blocks for the person who's designing to input whatever amount of height it is that we want to work with. So we're actually going to take this, we're going to move it down here for now, and we're going to put it here, but we're going to change some of these parts. We're going to take away this, and for repeat 10 times, we're going to input things that have areas for a number to go. So let's start out with the basics. We'll do wait 1 second, and then we'll use set Y to 0. Set Y to 0 is a little bit different from change Y by 10 because it has to do more with what specifically Y is. You're not actually changing the Y, You're just causing it to be set to something different. But instead of 0, we're going to put height and put that in. So that when we use the block, whatever the number listed is, that will code for the height. Then we'll do wait 1 second again. And now we're going to do set y to negative height. So the way we do this is you go to operators, and you may recall this block here, which looks like a multiplication block. Slip that one in. Now we'll again drag height here, but in order to make it negative, we'll put -1. Okay, so now theoretically, if we use this block here, hopping, and then this number, whatever the number is that we put in here is going to automatically input it in for this height and for this height. So if hopping, for example, we were to put 10, theoretically what would happen is that for 10 times, the sprite would wait 1 second, then y would be set to 10, wait 1 second, and then y would be set to -10, because we would multiply 10 by -1. So let's go ahead and do this. We'll move this one to the side as well. We'll just put that right there. And let's bring down when green flag clicked. Now we'll try hopping 10. And so when we click green flag, this data over here, all of these blocks, will code here. And it'll be according to the input 10. Let's give it a try. Okay, there you go. You notice the frog is going up, down, up, down, up, down, and just keeps doing it until 10 times have been repeated. Now I want to show you one last thing. Let's say that we decided that the hopping was still too small, and we want to change this to 50. Now theoretically, the same thing will happen, but because the number input is different, this information and this information will change the action. Let's give it a try. There you go. A lot larger hopping. Up, down, up, down. Perfect. And all because we went ahead and we defined our different block. Now, all of these extra blocks over here, we're not actually accounting for anything, so we'll just go ahead and get rid of those. And all we have left now is define hopping height and our actual action taking place. Experiment around and see what other blocks you can make, because there's a lot of interesting ways to add in string input, Boolean statements, label text. But the important thing is that when you go ahead and you define different blocks, you can code for any number of actions to happen with just this single block. So tinker away and see what other blocks you can actually create.